She didn't mean for anyone to hear her, but the words came out anyway, raw, broken, and loud enough for the whole cafe to go quiet. Please, someone just date me. I don't even care anymore. For free, just be there. And in that single, humiliating moment, everything changed. The morning had started like every other morning for Clara. She woke up at 6:47 a.m., 13 minutes before her alarm, staring at the ceiling of her small apartment like it owed her an answer. The light came in through the gap in the curtains, pale and watery, the kind of light that doesn't really warm anything. She made coffee. She fed her plant. She told herself today would be different. It wasn't. By the time she reached the cafe on Maple Street, the one with the crooked sign, and the bench outside that always smelled faintly of rain, she had already received 2 texts. One from her mother asking why she wasn't married yet. One from her best friend canceling their lunch plans for the 3rd week in a row. Clara sat down at her usual table by the window, ordered her usual oat latte, opened her notebook to a blank page, and stared at it. She was 31 years old. She had a job she was good at, a laugh that people said was contagious, and a heart so full of love she sometimes felt it pressing against, her ribs like it needed more room. But somehow she had spent the last 4 years completely alone. Not lonely in the dramatic movie way, just quietly, consistently, achingly alone. She'd tried the apps. She'd tried the setups her coworkers arranged. She'd tried going to events, joining clubs, smiling at strangers in bookshops. And every single time something fell apart. Someone disappeared. Someone chose someone else. Someone said, "You're amazing, but..." There's always a but. Clara picked up her pen, put it down, picked it up again, and that's when her phone buzzed. It was a notification from the last dating app she'd kept. The one she hadn't deleted yet out of pure stubbornness. A message from a man she'd been talking to for 3 weeks. Someone who had seemed genuine. Someone who had asked about her childhood, and her dreams, and her favorite kind of rain. The message read, "Hey, I think I'm going to step back. I met someone else. You're great, though." Clara set the phone face down on the table. She breathed in, she breathed out, and then, very quietly, very privately, she started to cry. Not the kind of crying that asks for attention, the kind that just leaks out of you, the kind your body does when your mind has run out of ways to hold everything together. She pressed her fingers to her eyes, tried to pull herself back. But the words, the exhaustion, the 4 years, the but, the blank page, the watery light, the empty chair across from her, it all came rushing up at once. "Please," she whispered. And then louder because something inside her had finally cracked open. "Please, someone just date me. I don't even care anymore. For free. Just be there." The cafe went still. A spoon clinked against a cup. Clara looked up and felt the heat flood her face as she realized the whole room was watching her. The barista, the woman with the laptop, the old man with his newspaper, and the man on the bench outside. He had been sitting there the whole time. Daniel was 35, broad-shouldered, wearing a Henley shirt and the particular expression of someone who has learned, through experience, not to react too quickly to anything. He had a coffee in one hand and a small yellow drawing in the other. A crayon sketch of a dinosaur that his 7-year-old daughter Lily had pressed into his jacket pocket that morning before school. "So you don't miss me too much, Daddy?" He'd smiled at that. He still was, a little, when he heard the voice through the open cafe window. He didn't laugh. He didn't look away awkwardly like the others. He just listened, and when he saw Clara stand up, mortified, gathering her things with trembling hands, whispering, sorry, to no one in particular, he did something that surprised even himself. He knocked gently on the glass. Clara froze, looked up, met his eyes. He held up his coffee cup and gave a small, slow nod toward the empty side of the bench outside. A question without pressure. An invitation without expectation. Clara stared at him. He waited. She went outside. They didn't talk about what had just happened, not right away. They just sat, side by side on the bench that smelled like rain, watching the street, watching the slow drift of the morning. After a while, Daniel said, "I have a daughter. She's 7. Her name is Lily. She drew me this today." He held up the crayon dinosaur. Clara looked at it for a long moment. Then, very softly, she laughed. And it was, even now, even like this, contagious. "It's a very good dinosaur," she said. "She calls him Gerald," Daniel said. "He protects things." Clara looked at Gerald the dinosaur. She felt something loosen in her chest. "I'm Clara," she said. "Daniel." They shook hands, formally, almost comically formal. And then they both smiled, and the formality dissolved like sugar in warm water. He told her, slowly, carefully, that he'd been raising Lily alone for 2 years, that her mother had left, that mornings were hard and evenings were harder, and he'd stopped dating, because every first date felt like performing a version of himself that didn't quite fit anymore. He said he came to this bench sometimes, just to sit outside of his own life for 20 minutes. Clara told him about the apps, about the butts, about the 4 years of trying and the blank notebook page and the oat latte. She hadn't even finished. They talked until the morning opened up into something warmer and the watery light became gold. At some point, without planning to, Daniel said, "For what it's worth, I think someone who cries like that in a cafe, openly, honestly, because they want connection that badly, that's not embarrassing. That's brave." Clara didn't answer right away. She looked at Gerald the dinosaur, still in Daniel's hand. "He protects things," she repeated quietly. "Yeah," Daniel said. "That's the job." They didn't fall in love that morning. This isn't that kind of story, the fast kind, the perfect kind. Life doesn't move like that, and they both knew it. But something real began on that bench, something unhurried and honest. The kind of beginning that doesn't announce itself, that just quietly takes root while you're sitting with a stranger, who knocked on glass when everyone else looked away. Clara went back to the cafe the next morning, and the morning after that. Daniel was there on the bench most days before work. Sometimes Lily came too, with more crayon drawings, with questions about Clara's earrings, with the frank and fearless affection that only children carry. Months later, when people asked them how they met, Daniel would say, "She made a speech," and Clara would say, "He knocked on glass." And they'd look at each other with the particular warmth of two people who found each other not in spite of their broken moments, but because of them. Because sometimes the most important thing you can do is say, out loud to no one in particular, "Please, someone just be there," and mean it, and let someone hear it. Gerald the dinosaur still lives on their refrigerator. He's still protecting things,